I'm 53.
Most of my life, I've been the kind of woman who lives in the calm. A woman who finds comfort in order, the quiet hum of the day, the sound of a cup settling onto a saucer, the stillness of a house that seemed to echo with the absence of anything dramatic. I didn't mind it. It was safe, familiar. After my husband left all those years ago, this routine became my anchor. Predictable love, I figured, had come and gone, and I was fine with that. It wasn't the kind of love that was meant to last forever, at least. That's what I told myself. I made peace with the quiet. But then came one Thursday morning, a morning that would change everything. Not in the way you might expect. Not with grand gestures or loud epiphanies. No, this change was subtle, slow, almost imperceptible. Like the air just before a storm, thick with something unspoken, something you can't quite name. The sky had settled into soft gray clouds. The kind that makes the world feel suspended, like time itself is holding its breath. I had just stepped out of the shower, my hair damp and curling at the edges, wrapped loosely in an old navy robe. It was worn, frayed at the edges, the belt barely holding its place around my waist. It barely skimmed my knees, but it was comfortable and familiar. I hadn't expected to see anyone. The house was quiet, the way it always was in the mornings. I was sipping my coffee, the warm aroma filling the air, when I heard it. 3 soft knocks. I froze. Who knocks at 10:30 a.m.? Who? I padded across the floor, cinching my robe tighter around me, and peered through the side window. It was Jake. Jake, my neighbor's son, the one who had just returned from college. Tall, lean, and looking every bit the young man I had seen growing up, always around, mowing the lawn or helping his mother with the groceries. He was a little older now, though. Still the same Jake, but something about him had changed. The boy I once knew had grown into a man, and somehow I hadn't noticed until now. I opened the door, trying to act as casual as I could. "Hey, Jake. Everything okay?" His smile was sheepish, almost embarrassed. He shifted on his feet, clearly not sure of how to begin. "Hi, Miss Andrews," he said, his voice a little rough, like he hadn't quite woken up yet. "Sorry, I locked myself out. My mom's not answering her phone. Could I come in and wait?" There was something about the way he stood there, sweaty from the morning heat, his shirt clinging to his chest, his eyes wide with a hint of nervousness. It wasn't the usual confidence I'd seen in him when he was younger. He looked stranded. I hesitated. I was standing there in nothing but a robe, my hair still damp, and this wasn't how I usually spent my mornings. But I didn't want to send him away. It was clear he wasn't asking for anything more than a place to sit, so I stepped aside.
"Sure.
"Come on in, but keep your eyes up," I said, half smiling to make it less awkward. He chuckled, the sound low and nervous. He stepped in, and I led him to the kitchen. I poured him a cup of coffee and slid it across the counter. He took it gratefully, his hands curling around the mug as if it were the only thing holding him together. We talked about trivial things at first, how his summer had been, his classes, the usual. I tried to keep it light, but then something shifted. It wasn't a loud change. It was subtle, like the way the air smells before a storm charged, full of something that can't be named. Jake paused, his gaze not leaving my face. "You know," he said, breaking the silence, "I've always thought you were beautiful, Miss Andrews." It wasn't flirtatious, not in the way young men sometimes speak. It wasn't even what you'd call a compliment. It was just honest. He said it like he'd been carrying the thought for years and finally decided to let it go. The words hung between us. I hadn't expected them, certainly not at this moment. My heart fluttered, but I kept my voice steady. "Jake, you're sweet," I said softly, not knowing how to respond to something so simple, yet so heavy. He looked away, his face flushed. "I mean it," he murmured. "I've always thought you were beautiful, even when I was a kid." That stopped me cold. I hadn't seen him like this before. Not as the boy who used to run across my lawn, not as the kid who always followed his mother's instructions. In that moment, I saw him as he was now, a man. Someone who was seeing me in a way no one had in years. Not as a distant neighbor, not as someone with a polite smile and a routine, but as someone who recognized something in me. Something I had forgotten I still had. "You're not a boy anymore, Jake," I said, my voice soft. And he wasn't. Not in the way he was looking at me. Not in the way his voice remained steady as he said, "I just wanted to be near you." We talked for hours.
About life. About loss.
About the things we carry when we think no one is looking. It wasn't anything extraordinary. No grand confessions. No promises. But it was real. It was something. A moment that changed everything without us even knowing it. When he left, I felt something had shifted. Not drastically, but subtly. Like a window cracked open after years of being sealed shut. I caught myself glancing at the driveway more often, my fingers brushing over the lipstick in my drawer, just to see if I still knew how to wear it. I found myself running a brush through my hair with a little more care, feeling the unfamiliar warmth of being noticed, of being seen. Days later, Jake returned, not locked out this time.
Just there.
"I couldn't stop thinking about you," he said quietly. "I know I'm young, and I know this is complicated, but being around you makes me feel real, like I've seen for the first time." And then it hit me. I felt the same. Not because of age or rules or what anyone might say, but because for the first time in a long while, I had been reminded of what it felt like to be noticed, to be remembered, to be real. That night, we walked down the path by the creek. He brought lemonade, and we talked about things that felt important. Frogs, books, the quiet that settles between two people who have no reason to meet in the middle, but somehow find themselves doing just that. Beneath the old oak tree, Jake reached for my hand, and I let him. I didn't question it. I didn't try to figure out what it meant or where it was going. "I don't know what this is," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "But I want to find out." There were no promises, no guarantees. Just a shared breath. The quiet between us didn't feel empty. It felt like the beginning of something honest. For the first time in years, I felt hope. Not the kind that comes with fireworks or fairy tales, but the kind that comes when you let someone see you and you choose to see them back.